in Qatar in retaliation for the bombing of its nuclear sites. As you know, Iran had those airstrikes that happened on Sunday, and this was in retaliation. Again, Iran has launched a missile attack today on a U.S. military base in Qatar. I have been watching the Fox coverage, and we do not know at this point of any casualties. This is a very developing situation, and of course, we will continue to follow that following these American attacks on the Iranian nuclear sites. So there's so much more to come on that. We're going to keep you posted. We have two things going on right now. We are told President Donald Trump is in the Situation Room getting briefed and discussing the matter. He may come on at any time, and we will cut to him if we need to. But we are also waiting for Hakeem Jeffries to give his remarks on what happened today and the entire situation, bring us up to date and give us a briefing. As soon as we see Hakeem take the stage, we will cut away from that. In the meantime, let's get to some local news because, as you know, it has been hot. Here's the thing. Tom and I talked about this last night. We know how summer is here in southeastern Wisconsin, right? But it's day after day after day of this high heat, intense humidity. And yes, there have been winds, but they've offered very little solace, especially if you're in a place where you can't get to air conditioning or you can't get to shade. Where I live, there have been workers out on a roof, and I'm thinking, are these conditions appropriate? Maybe it helps whatever they're doing seal it in, but they're out there working, and there are a lot of people who have got to be out in this dangerous heat. And so right now we're trying to find ways everybody to stay cool, but also to make sure that people are staying hydrated, checking on the elderly, making sure the pets are okay, never leaving a child in the car or anybody for that matter with this extreme heat. So we have Christina Van Zelst, who's going to join us in just a little bit to give us an update. But let's take a look at the roads, because I know that at one point we were talking about how are the roads, are they safe? Were there going to be buckling issues or whatever? We don't see anything right now. The roads seem to be moving along fairly well. That's one look. Let's see, that looks to be frozen. So let's give you another look here at Howley Road right there. And again, traffic moving smoothly, not a lot of issues at all, not a lot of breakdowns. It's so easy for a car to break down in these sweltering conditions, but traffic seems to be moving well. Going back to that shot, again, we're going to talk a little bit about those buckling roads. Here's the other good news. We did find that, we just went to the We Energies website, and we did find that there are very few power outages. Oh, right there, we can see that. Thank you, Delaney, our producer here, who are showing us this deterioration. And again, this could be a lot of things, but a lot of these roads with this kind of heat can really take a beating. And so you see there some of those chips that have come up and some of those cracks, and that can really cause a lot of problems when we're driving. We haven't heard of anything that's too dangerous at this point. We're just kind of looking around right now, so the roads seem to be clear. But again, with this high heat, we'll continue to watch that. Again, back to We Energies, we took a look and we didn't find any severe outages, just a few here and there. It looked as though it was, at this point, very few power outages, and those grids are holding up. We don't have a particularly old grid here, and so We Energies is not even issuing any warnings in terms of running your air conditioning. There seems to be, at this point, no concern that so many people are running air at such a high level that we are any situation, any danger for a blackout or anything like that. So it's good to know people are staying cool. There are cooling shelters and a lot of additional resources that we can use here to get through this heat. We have all those resources on our website, fox6now.com, and also, of course, on our Fox Local mobile app. So a lot of the talk right now, of course, is when are we going to break the heat, and will there be any severe storms with this? We're going to look to Stephanie Barrichello in a little bit to give us an update on that and also tell us when we can get a break from this heat. But in the meantime, again, make sure that you're taking care of each other and checking on the elderly and making sure that everybody is hydrated and properly taken care of during this time of this dangerous heat. Looking here at the roadways, again, we're not seeing any major issues. We're looking at, let's go, we do have the outage match. There we go. Yeah, you can see here 151 right now, customers out of power. And right now 27 outages, nothing widespread, nothing that is too severe. But again, you want to report that to We Energies so they can get that up and running right away. This is not the night or the time to be without any electricity. Fans, of course, so important. Air conditioning, again, cooling shelters are open and they are available. There are people to assist. if you have this problem. So again, we are looking here, nothing too severe. Always want to keep an eye on that, though, of course, as people are using their air conditioning and we get all this intensity and you get a lot of pressure on those grids to keep up and running. We are looking also at, right now, the House Appropriations Committee is discussing their 2026 budget. It looks to be kind of at this point, they're going through some issues. We'll keep an eye on that as well. Always looking ahead, of course, to the next year in the budget, particularly with everything going on in the world at this point. Right now, we are still under a heat advisory and a heat warning. I'm going to pull up this graphic right here. These are the watches and the warnings coming in today, and this just came in right now. So you can see there, we're in this thunderstorm watch. We're kind of in that pink, of course. Nothing severe, though. We're not seeing any real severe weather coming in right now. We, of course, are looking to know when we can get a break from this heat. But the satellite and radar looking pretty clear, as you saw blue skies today under that heat. And I don't know if you noticed, I'm not seeing any smoke from the Canada wildfires. So hopefully that's a good sign that they are contained and that we're okay. So let's look here at the watches and warnings once again. The only severe thunderstorm watch until Monday at 9 p.m. appears to be right in that area of Watertown, Beaver Dam, way to our west in Madison, Dodgeville. And I know La Crosse oftentimes gets in on those watches, those thunderstorm watch, but no tornado watches, no severe thunderstorm warnings as of today for right now. We'll see if that changes later in the week, but right now it's just this hot, humid, hazy, sunny skies and this sweltering heat. We're going to see if we can get an exact temperature right now, but we're waiting for Christina Van Zelst. She's getting situated to bring us an update on the situation out there. I know most of you are avoiding the outdoors altogether if you can and just getting to a nice cooling place. Somebody wrote me yesterday and said, are all the libraries open extra? And I would assume that your local library would be a great place to be. Not sure if they're extending their hours, but that's always an option, of course, if we want to look at that. Let's look here at I always go to my, if you have it, FOX6 Storm Center app. It's always a great, well, this just came in right now that this just came in on our Fox Local mobile app that there was a weather update there. But we're looking at, obviously, changing conditions with all of this heat coming in right now. It's saying the extreme heat warning has been issued, and that's going to go until later on tonight. And right now, looking at the app, it's saying that we're going to have some late storms this evening, scattered at some point. But again, this heat issued warning is going to stay with us really through the day until it breaks sometime later on, probably in the wee hours of the morning. So when we're looking at that, let's see here. Why don't we try to get Christina Van Zelst on the phone here, take a quick break. I'm going to give one last shot of the roads, if we can, right there, just to see if traffic is moving along. It's been quite a quiet day so far. I know on my drive-in coming up 43, I thought there may be a little bit more traffic, but things seem to be moving pretty smoothly. So let's take a quick break, try to get Christina here or Stephanie Barrichello to give us an update on the heat. And again, we are awaiting Hakeem Jeffries speaking on the situation in Iran. We'll wait for him to take the podium.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
So glad you're with us, Mary Stoker-Smith, on this hot, hazy, sizzling Monday afternoon. We're going to keep you up to date on everything going on in Iran. President Donald Trump may speak to the nation. If that happens, we will bring you that coverage immediately. But in the meantime, let's come back here to southeastern Wisconsin, where this intense heat is just not letting up. So many people are wondering, when are we going to get a break? This is dangerous heat, even for people who like it a little bit balmy. Let's be honest, day after day after day is really taking a toll on so many people. And of course, those air conditioners are rolling and rolling. There's help out there if you do need a cooling center or you do need some aid. We have everything on our Fox Local app. Please head to that for all the information. But in the meantime, let's get out to Christina Van Zelst right now, because Christina, she has made it outside. She's going to give us an idea of exactly how it feels right now. Christina, I'm looking at you. You always look calm, cool, and collected, of course. But I know you are baking out there. Bring us up to speed, girl. How is it?
It's hot. I will tell you, I am not cool today. Actually, my photojournalist Mike just put sunscreen on, and I'm regretting not putting any sunscreen on because it is super hot out. Obviously, there's that breeze, which does give some relief, but it is a toasty one. And Mary, we're in Racine County right now, where we just spoke with a couple of residents at the Lake Oaks apartment complex that is right off of the river. They reached out to Fox 6 because they have not had air conditioning since Thursday, and we have had a weekend full of this extreme heat. And that apartment complex, the people that live there are 55 years and older. A lot of people that we talk to say their friends that live there. Even one woman has health concerns when it comes to respiratory issues and using oxygen tanks. Mary, we were sitting in her apartment. Her thermostat was 87 degrees. Oh. She has fans in every room going. She's got, she also has a little dog who has its own fan next to its little area that it stays. But it was so hot, and we had a couple other residents come in and talk to us about how they're dealing with the same thing and have just had no response from the management over there. I reached out to their management to see if they had any comment about what's going on, and I feel bad for them. You feel for them. It is unhealthy to be in those conditions, and even with the fans going, it really doesn't help when you have the heat like this today. So we're working on that story today. I did just talk with the mayor's office. They're trying to get any information, but it is an unhealthy living condition to be like that. The one woman had all of her blinds closed, but it's still, 87 degrees on the thermostat with fans going in every room. It was pretty brutal sitting in there.
Christina, tell us a little bit more about this. What is this, a two-story building? Is it a high-rise? The heat rises. Kind of give us a snapshot of exactly what the people living in this building in Racine County are going through without any air. Is it just the one unit, or is it the entire building?
Yeah, so it's a 3-story building apartment complex. I believe there's more than 100 units. Now, the one woman we talked to said that there are several units without air, and that they've been told the problem is half of their cooling unit outside of the building that does the air conditioning for all of it. Half of that is not working. But one thing that the frustration is coming from is apparently this has been an issue for these residents every year. The one woman we spoke to has lived there for 4 to 5 years, and she said this was an issue in the last 4 years she's lived here. So they've known this has been an issue apparently, and nothing's been done. So they're having to go to families' houses or having to go to one guy we talked to. He said, every morning I wake up and I sit in my car. I run the AC for an hour, sits in his car, runs his gas, goes in to shower. And he said the other day he almost fainted because it's so hot. You can't really do anything in your place of your home. And then he will leave. So people aren't staying there, but you're paying your rent, and they're frustrated that nothing is being reimbursed or done about it. So I did try to reach out to their management company and haven't heard back yet to see what the deal is. Yeah, that is just really frightening, and especially with people with underlying health conditions. I know as somebody who suffers from asthma, days like today, it just is going to kick up with all this humidity. And so, hopefully there's places that they can go and get some help, and we can remedy this. Sadly, this is sometimes how things have to
be done. You know, when they go on TV and all of a sudden the people responsible, you know, kind of step up and say, okay, we're going to get things going. I do have to ask you quick, because we were thinking about the road conditions. There were reports, at least yesterday, of some areas with buckled roads, or, you know, sometimes even cars. This really takes a toll on our cars being broken down. Did you have any traffic troubles on your way to Racine County today?
No, you know, we didn't see that. I did see something on social media about an area near 7 Mile Road in Racine County that might have buckled from the heat yesterday, but where we're at right now, we haven't seen any issues. But again, I wouldn't be surprised with how hot it is. But we're right along the interstate here, and on our drive here from Brown Deer, we didn't see anything like that. But I do want to go back to your point about the residents talking to us on camera today. They said they called us because they feel like they have nowhere else to go, and one man didn't want to talk to us because he was worried that the apartment complex could retaliate against him, tell him, well, if you don't like it here, you can move. So there was some of that discussion today where I think people are just fed up, and, you know, like we've been saying, it's unsafe to be sitting in there. We were there for probably an hour and just, you know, dripping sweat. So that's, I think, why people reached out to us to just try to help get something done, since it's been an issue for, according to them, several years.
Yeah, absolutely. Boy, our heart just breaks. Well, I'm not going to keep you out there too much longer. I know you're not a meteorologist, neither am I, weather expert, but you and I do a good feels like. I know we were at Summerfest on Saturday, and we felt like the feels like was an oven of maybe 125 degrees. Do you think it's better now? Do you think it's about the same, a little cooler? I know you're not in the Summerfest grounds right on the lake there, but how does it feel right now?
We were talking in the car. I think Rob might have said this morning, that it feels like a hair dryer is just blowing at you, like the hot air. So
there's nothing.
The wind is nice, but it's hot wind. Yeah,
it's hot wind, right?
I would say being in the sun. Yeah, being in the sun is hot, but the wind does help, and the shade is a little bit cooler. But I would not recommend being outside longer than 10 minutes.
Yes,
tops,
and I've kept you on this live shot. You are a trooper, my friend. Thank you. We really do appreciate that. But we are going to, in all seriousness, look for your report a little later tonight. You'll have an update. We'll be keeping on this story, of course, but we want to make sure that the resident that you interviewed is safe, and that woman is safe, and she's getting at least some air, right? She's getting some help.
Yeah, and all the residents we talked to, they are very close, it seems, and are all kind of in this together. So she and the other gentleman we spoke to, who sits in his car with his AC, I mean, they've got each other. It sounds like they've been leaning on each other to try to get this figured out. I know she has family close in the area, but it's also an inconvenience thing, right? You're paying rent, and they love where they live, but you can't stay there in what we saw, it being 87 degrees. So yeah, thinking of them and hoping we can help. Yeah, absolutely. Well, keep us updated. We'll look for your reports. We may bring you back, but we'll look for, of course, an update at 4, 5, 6, and of course through the night. So Christina, thank you. I'll let you go get a cool drink and shade right now, but really appreciate your update. Thank you. Thanks, Mary.
You got it. So we do have, this could be some good news, actually. Some rain coming in right now. We have a severe thunderstorm warning, or severe thunderstorm watch for Fond du Lac and Dodge counties until 9 p.m. And looking at our weather app, which again I love, you guys have got to have that, the FOX6 weather app. It is so great, free download, and you get severe weather alerts, and you also can get an hour by hour looking at every hour at when this heat may break. But again, a severe thunderstorm watch for Fond du Lac and Dodge County has been issued until 9 p.m. tonight. So again, we're staying on top of the severe heat. We're watching We Energies. We're updating that and looking at that almost every half hour to make sure that we report on any power outages. But we're also looking at people like the person Christina talked to today who doesn't have any air conditioning, who is having maybe a limited use of fan. Again, there are resources available. There are cooling shelters, and there's tips on really how to stay cool. Just a little bit of time outside can be really debilitating. So please make sure that you're hydrated, checking on your pets, making sure that the kids are hydrated now that most of them are out of school, and just making sure everybody is safe. So I think we have just a little bit more to go before we finally get a break in this. We're keeping our eye, of course, on all the situations. There's so much going on today, as you know, even around the world right now. Before I get to that, though, I do want to show you, Delaney, if we can bring up that picture again, because I did want to touch on this. I didn't do it earlier, on that road buckle that came in actually a little bit earlier, and that was at Howard Avenue and St. Francis, and that was sent in this morning, I do believe. If we can get that back up. Right now you're looking at Howard Avenue and St. Francis. I wanted to make sure I explained exactly where that was, because somebody was saying, where is that? And that was a road buckle, again, indicative of all this heat. We are keeping an eye on other road buckles, but let us know if there is something in your area. Send us a picture. That's how we find out about a lot of these things. You can go ahead and send me a direct message, or just even give the desk a call and let us know, our assignment desk, on any major road buckles that you're seeing. Again, this is Howard Avenue, St. Francis, taken by our photojournalist Tim Primo. About 10 o'clock this morning he sent this in, Howard and St. Francis. We want to get back to the situation, of course, going on with Iran, because we do see Hakeem Jeffries has just come to the podium. We're going to take a quick break, regroup, and then we'll come back to hear what Mr. Jeffries is saying about the situation in Iran and the retaliation that they are
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back, everybody. Mary Stoker-Smith at the Smith here at the Wisconsin Live Desk. We got a lot going on, and I'm anxious to get to it all. We're going to bring in Stephanie Barrichello in a little bit regarding this extreme heat that we've been experiencing for days now in southeastern Wisconsin. But we do want to keep you updated on the tensions in the Middle East. As I had said earlier at the start of this program, Iran has launched a missile attack today at a U.S. military base in Qatar. Of course, this is all in retaliation to the American bombing of the nuclear sites in Iran that we have been reporting on since late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Hakeem Jeffries has taken the podium right now. He's giving an update, and we want to hear what he is saying about the tensions right now, about the plans that he has heard in the Situation Room, and what we may expect to hear later today, and exactly where we are with the situation. Let's bring him in. We'll go to him, and then we will come back to us for a weather update.
Nuclear power. And of course, Israel has the right to defend itself, and will support Israel's security in an ironclad manner. But the Trump administration intentionally decided to ignore the aggressive diplomacy that was available to it to try to address the Iranian nuclear threat and ignore the requirements of the Constitution, and now they've got to explain why. And we expect that justification. not just at the classified briefing behind closed doors tomorrow, but we expect them to explain to the American people the basis of the strike. What were the results in terms of actually thwarting Iran's capacity to become a nuclear power? And what are the Trump administration plans to avoid another potentially disastrous war in the Middle East where thousands of American lives are potentially at risk? What is your plan to avoid another foreign war? A promise you made, a promise that Donald Trump made to the American people last year. And just like every other major promise that he made on a campaign trail, he's failed to keep it. Questions?
Mr. Leader, you've been very
Thank you.
Mr. Leader, I know you just said it's not optional to use military force without consulting Congress, but what is your specific reaction to this afternoon's retaliatory strikes? Also, were you briefed this morning about the potential for retaliation? And lastly, have you been given any updated intelligence assessment about what damage may or may not have occurred from Saturday's strikes?
On Saturday at the highest levels, I communicated to the White House that it was my expectation that we would have a Gang of 8 classified briefing immediately to discuss the military strike on Iran, the potential for retaliation, as well as to probe the basis and justification for the offensive military action and to understand the damage that was actually done and whether reports are accurate that Iran may have moved significant amounts of their enriched uranium in advance of the strike, which would effectively allow them to remain in a position to become a nuclear power. That Gang of 8 briefing has not taken place. So the question is, why not? What is the administration hiding from the elected representatives of the United States Congress if they're willing to stand behind their actions? Now, our thoughts, prayers, and our full support will continue to be behind the members of the United States military who are in harm's way throughout the Middle East. That's unwavering and unequivocal support for our service men and women in the military throughout the Middle East. That is different than making sure that the Trump administration in a democracy follows the law, follows the Constitution, and does what's in the best interest of the national security of the American people. Thanks. Back row.
You have been listening there to Representative Hakeem Jeffries. He is talking about Iran retaliating with a missile attack on U.S. airbase in Qatar, a U.S. airbase in Qatar. The Pentagon at this point has reported no casualties. That's what we are hearing. We are waiting to hear more on the situation. We are waiting to possibly hear from President Donald Trump this afternoon. But again, earlier today, Iran retaliating on the strike against them with their own strike on our military base in Qatar. Again, no casualties at this hour. We will keep an eye on that developing situation, bring you the latest right here on Fox Local and, of course, during our newscast later on tonight. Let's get back here to southeastern Wisconsin and this extreme heat that we have been feeling day after day after day. It seems like there's just no getting away from it. Even 2 minutes outside and you are really feeling it. Let's bring in weather expert Stephanie Barrichello, of course, because we need to figure out exactly where we're at, Stephanie, right now. We're all kind of, even people who like the heat, I was kind of joking, we're all kind of saying enough is enough. This is so extreme.
Of 600.
Stephanie, I think we're having a hard time hearing you there. I think we may be, let's just come right, but we'll let Stephanie regroup there. It's the heat. It's the heat that's gotten to our microphones. Seems like everything's a little bit wonky.
Sorry about that, Mary.
That's okay.
You know
I'm
what?
like, it's the heat stuff. It's got to be the heat. Let me see here that I'm going to come right back to you. It's the heat that's doing it.
Yeah, you know, a little fun fact in the weather department, we have 2 microphones, and so the other meteorologist in the morning starts with the main microphone, and we don't always switch off. So here you go. I've got 2 microphones on right now, but this is the one I need. But what I was trying to tell you, Mary, is that we're not quite done heating for today. We're in the low 90s right now, as you can see behind me. But remember, our peak daytime heating is between 3 and about 5 p.m. So we're still going to continue to climb for the 3rd day in a row of temperatures in likely the mid 90s. We are on record watch. Forecasted high for today is 96. The record is 95. So we'll see. Again, we mainly have low 90s at the moment. Not quite to feeling like 100s just yet, but we still have that possibility today. We could be as warm as about 105 degrees later on this afternoon. I'm going to step off screen real quickly because I do actually want to bring you some latest information when it comes to that cold front out towards the west. We are seeing plenty of thunderstorm activity around that cold front, and we have a severe thunderstorm watch now that does include 2 communities within southeast Wisconsin. That's Fond du Lac as well as Dodge County. So that's in effect now and then continues until 9 o'clock tonight. You'll notice that all the pink, that is that severe thunderstorm watch. So many across Wisconsin under that. And right behind this main box with the information, it looks like we have our first severe thunderstorm warning. Now, for now, these storms are off towards the west, but they're going to continue to track up towards the east-northeast here. So you can tell this main and really strongest batch, that may clip parts of northwestern Fond du Lac County, but this is a broken line of storms that extends all the way down into Iowa, once again associated with that cold front. So it is going to continue to move our way. I think most of southeast Wisconsin, we're still looking like early evening, maybe 5-6 p.m. for some of these storms to be rolling on through. We'll be watching their speed very closely, though. A lot of our earlier models had it moving in a little bit later, though it's moving pretty quick at this point. So I do think by your early evening, we'll need to watch these thunderstorms rolling on through. But there you go. One more afternoon of high heat and humidity. Then this cold front swings through, bringing thunderstorms, potentially severe in our area. But then the rest of the week, we should hang out in the 80s. It is worth mentioning, too, that our dew points are still going to stay relatively high. So even though air temperatures are dropping back to 80s, which is still above average, we're still going to feel the humidity, and we have a pretty much daily rain chance heading on into about Thursday. So we're switching up our 3 straight days of heat and humidity with a somewhat cooler but definitely more active pattern, with the fact that we have numerous days of thunderstorm chances. But at least there's relief on the way when it comes to those temperatures in the 90s, Mary.
You know, Stephanie, I could be wrong, but I always, when I saw the watch, I usually don't get excited, of course. You never want a severe thunderstorm watch warning. But I got a little excited because I always associate that with perhaps a little cool down. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely, because these storms are right along that cold front.
Right.
So, I mean, we're still going to be warm in the days ahead, though lakeshore communities, we could see a few 70s. But yes, whenever we get those thunderstorms rolling in, it's often with a front, and this time it's going to cool us down.
I got to quick go back to what you said. You said we're looking at records. We feel, it feels like, if we could do feels like temp, it feels like a record. We don't know at this point if it is, or?
Not yet,
Really?
because our high temperature for the day is usually at around 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock. So we're still just a little too early, but it's 91 degrees right now. The forecasted high is 96 and the record is 95. So to say the very least, we're going to be very close, if not potentially breaking that record.
The days are longer, of course, because we just had the summer solstice. Does that play a part? Because when you have a day like today where it's super sunny, it seems kind of common sense, but again, I don't know. Is that part of the reason that we're perhaps so hot right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting towards that point in the summer where we start to see at least periodic heat. I mean, we're through June. I mean, we've only got a few more days left of the month, so we're getting there. But this certain air mass, you know, it originated west and southwest of us. It's thanks to a couple of different high pressure systems that were down towards the south, so bringing in a lot of heat and humidity. But we've just watched it over the last couple of days move from out west to the Great Plains, to now the Great Lakes region, and actually out east, they're feeling it now too. All of those heat headlines have now moved east, and we're even talking places like New York City under excessive heat warning. So we've just watched this really just dome of hot air continue to make its way eastward across the entire country over the last week.
Yeah, we can't underscore how important it is to stay hydrated and to really check on people who just don't have the capabilities to make sure that they're cool. Even in their homes, but just to make sure that they're just staying hydrated and being really weather aware, as we always say.
Yeah, exactly. Just all those same precautions you took over the weekend, still keep it going for the next couple hours.
All right, so we had a couple hours. We can get through this.
Yes, we
and
can.
Then we'll feel the relief.
Then all eyes on the storms.
Yeah, exactly. We know. We'll let you get back to that. All right, I appreciate you giving us an update. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
You bet. So there you have it. Good. Relief on the way. So that's kind of a good thing. But in the meantime, too, we all need to be making sure that we're mindful this afternoon. Interesting that we find out that high at 5, because I always felt like the high was right now, right, if you've stepped outside. But you really do feel for people who've got to be out there in the heat, people, first responders, people who are working construction, people who've got to work on the roads, because as you know, this is construction season. It's a sea of orange cones out there. So we're really also keeping an eye on our crews and making sure that that is going well. We're also going to be checking in with Christina Van Zels to find out how those people in Racine County are dealing with no air conditioning. And there are other people out there, certainly, that are dealing with places, buildings, homes, apartments that are not air conditioned. So we're really watching that and urging everybody to report it if you see it and keep an eye on that so that everybody can stay safe. We are keeping our eye on all of the things going on. As you know, the tensions that are building, of course, in the Middle East. We're keeping an eye on the cameras there. Keeping an eye on the roads, too. We can give you another check of that just because nothing really to report out there. No big traffic jams, no big problems at all on the roads. We showed you those buckling pictures a little bit earlier. But as far as the roads go right now, if you are headed out and about, nothing really bad to report. We just saw the graphic from Stephanie as well. And no, except for those counties that she mentioned, there's no weather risk at all here in the immediate area, right here in southeastern Wisconsin, in terms of anything severe. Yeah, let's look here. That camera is still frozen. So we're going to try to get a couple more pictures of the outside. We're going to take a quick break, dip into some of our other sources, and come back with an update. But for right now, let's give you a quick break. We'll regroup and come right back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Back with you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. So glad you're along today. We're keeping our eye on the heat right now. As we heard Stephanie Barrichello a little bit earlier, a severe thunderstorm watch has been issued for Fond du Lac and Dodge counties. That's going to go until 9 o'clock. We don't know if we're in record heat yet, but it certainly feels like it. It is a scorcher out there. A few minutes out there and you're really feeling the heat. You're probably starting to sweat. Cars blast in the air, and we know that you're blasting the air at home too. So again, we're all in it together. We're going to get through it because tonight we're going to feel some relief, according to our weather experts. That's a great news for sure. Let's give you a live look outside right now, because right now, hopefully, you're somewhere cool, somewhere cozy, and hopefully avoiding all this. It's beautiful out there, at least. Bright blue skies, a great day to find a pool and a popsicle and just kind of hang 10, right? As we take a live look at downtown right now. It's just a beautiful, beautiful view. Or that's from our Estabrook, excuse me, right, guys? That's our Estabrook cam? Yeah, that's Estabrook. I always like that. It's just picture perfect, isn't it? But let's take a live look to downtown, because people are still working, having to get out and about. Pretty quiet down there, but hopefully you can find some shade and again, find some water. It's funny, a quick little story, because we got some time here. La Crosse sometimes gets a little hotter, right? Because they don't have lake. That's my hometown. And as we take another look at Estabrook, you can see, right, all of our water. Well, it's not as easy. We have the Mississippi and La Crosse, but we certainly don't have that. We don't have that beautiful lake to jump in. And so it's funny, my niece yesterday posted something on social media that says a $50 pool is everything right now. I think they went to some retail shop and just got it real cheap, but that's the whole thing. They're like, we got to get out of the house. The air conditioning is blasting, and so just finding any cool place to be, any cool bottle of water or body of water, even if that's one of those little cheap pools that you put in, fill it up and let the 3 kids splash around. Anything that we can do. Let's give you a look at the roads too right now. Traffic is flowing smoothly. We did see some buckling a little bit earlier. We showed you a picture of that happening about 10 o'clock this morning. We showed you a picture there. But again, right now the roads appear to be smooth and everything fine. Very few power outages reporting from We Energies. There are some, but very few, nothing significant. So most people are keeping cool with fans, air conditioning, and finding places to go. Cooling centers are open. Of course, there's libraries and movie theaters. Again, a great friend to be in. So right now we're just giving you a live look at the roadways. We'll keep an eye on, of course, those thunderstorm watches, the severe thunderstorm watch for Fond du Lac and Dodge counties until 9 o'clock. And I said to Stephanie Barrichello a little bit earlier, sometimes those great thunderstorms or that little bit of rain really helps cool things off. And that's always nice. As you can see here, the satellite and radar right now, not really showing a lot of everything. Those storms really staying off west. But right now we're just looking for any reprieve that we can have from the sweltering heat. It's been very difficult to take. And we really applaud all of you who are taking care of people who need help right now, staying cool and making sure that they're hydrated and finding a place. Perhaps you're with somebody, like we talked to Christina, people in Racine County without air conditioning, finding family to go to. So that's important. We're going to keep an eye on these roadways, keep an eye on the weather, of course. As you know, we do have a developing situation. Tensions, of course, in the Middle East are ongoing. And there's been a development this afternoon, this morning. Iran did launch a missile attack at a U.S. military base in Qatar. We have been checking and we have found no reports, according to the Pentagon, of any casualties. That report coming in this morning that, again, Iran launching a missile attack on a U.S. military base in Qatar. This is in retaliation for the American bombing of the nuclear sites in Iran. And so that is, again, developing, keeping an eye on any casualties that may be there. At this point, we have none at all that we've been hearing about. We've heard President Trump may address the nation at some point today. We will bring you that as soon as we possibly can. And a little bit earlier, of course, we heard from Hakeem Jeffries. He was speaking about the retaliation, about the response and kind of the anticipation of what this could look like. If they do retaliate, what could this mean? Let's bring him in again and see. He was taking questions from reporters, but let's see if we can just dip in and hear the latest and just get a little briefing from Representative Hakeem Jeffries.
I'm gonna pass on that one. Thank you all.
As he's leaving, of course, the podium, we're going to see who comes next. I'm sorry I didn't take that just a second earlier. I would have loved to have heard what the past was. Let's see what that question may have been and if he's going to address that. We are also expected to hear from Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. And the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. They're hosting a press conference to discuss breakthroughs in health insurance that will improve access to the care of millions of Americans. And I know that's something a lot of you are concerned about with everything going on. And so if that does happen, we can take that press conference and let you know about the comments there. Right now, they're kind of regrouping there. We had heard President Trump was in the Situation Room regarding this retaliation from Iran launching those strikes at Qatar's U.S. airbase right now. Again, we'll keep an eye on that and bring you the latest as it develops right now. But again, let's go back to the weather. Why don't we give you a look outside right now? We can look at one of the maps, as you can see right there. Satellite and radar as of right about now, 2 o'clock. Pretty quiet here in southeastern Wisconsin for the most part. And then we'll give you a live look downtown right now at our Estabrook, and we'll give you a downtown look as well. Let's start downtown because some people are right in the middle of their workday right now. Pretty quiet out there so far. I think next week is the big travel week, right? Where a lot of people are going to be out of office, hitting the roads, and what AAA is saying is going to be a record-breaking 4th of July travel, particularly by car. I know there was something like 60 million travelers expected, and they were giving warnings on when to leave and what good times there are. This is from our Estabrook Tower Cam right now. They were saying roads can be pretty clogged up starting next Tuesday, Wednesday, and perhaps the worst day to travel. Again, this coming from AAA. If you are going somewhere for the 4th of July holiday, it's Sunday the 6th while everybody is trying to come back. So we want to make sure that the cars are ready to go. Yeah, so let's take a break because I think that Medicaid press conference that I told you about is setting up right now, and we want to give you the latest on that. So let's take a quick break, and we'll try to get that pulled up for you and come back. So stay with us right now.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And we're back. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. We want to get right into this because I want to show you a live picture right now of Tel Aviv. We are looking at this because, as we've been telling you, there has been a missile attack on the U.S. base in Qatar. Pentagon reporting no casualties, as I've been reporting to you, but Iran has launched a missile attack on the U.S. base in Qatar right now. We are keeping an eye on that. This is, of course, an all-retaliation attack to the launch on those airstrikes that came in very late Saturday night. We were told that this was attacked by short-range missiles. And again, no casualties reported at this point, but we are, of course, keeping an eye on this. Akeem Jeffries just gave a briefing a little bit ago. There was a question that he said he didn't want to answer, but the feeling that you got was they were anticipating that there was going to be some retaliation, as you can imagine. And they were saying that they were, obviously the officials there were briefed and poised. They are monitoring the situation, and we just, at this point, we are told that President Trump right now is in the Situation Room being briefed on everything going on, and he is poised at some point, we are told, to address the nation on this. But again, this is all in retaliation to those strikes following the attack on the Iranian nuclear sites. So again, that's a live look at Tel Aviv. We're going to keep an eye on that as we go forward here. In the meantime, we want to take you to another story developing right now. This is Mehmet Oz right now. I'm going to bring up his audio in just a moment. But just as I said before, Health and Human Services Robert Kennedy expected to take that stage right there. This is Mehmet Oz, as you know, he's hosting a press conference to discuss a breakthrough in health insurance that, according to them, will improve access to care for millions of Americans. He's been talking for a couple minutes right now, so let's bring up his sound and hear what he has to say.
To take the paperwork out of the process and put patients over paperwork. There's going to be a single FHIR-based electronic workflow. FHIR is a fast healthcare interoperability resource, so it's a standardized way for information exchange across systems. We'll have real-time decision-making for most electronic requests by 2027. We're going to have to work with providers, with doctors, many of whom, maybe half potentially, aren't using these kinds of technologies routinely in their office practice when they interact with insurers. We want that to change. So we don't have a slowing down of the process. There shouldn't be paper. There shouldn't be faxes. There shouldn't be letters being sent. They should all be done digitally and automatically. And 90-day continuity should exist for authorizations when patients switch insurers. So you never fall through the cracks. Again, another pain point that many patient groups are bringing to us. The future is a system where carriers compete on value and outcomes. They compete on value and outcomes. They do not compete on issues like confusing portals and who can obfuscate the most and delay the process the most. That's not how they want to win, and that's not how they're going to win. We want to recognize the insurers who've done this, and they have stepped up. They're sharing data in ways that we are very honored by. They're willing to be meek in the process in ways that we had not even initially anticipated. They're accepting performance targets. They're offering commitments that go just beyond the profits that are involved in this process, although we're hopeful that we'll actually save some money through this process because we won't be wasting the amount of money that is often spent unnecessarily when documents are sent back and forth, taking up precious time without changing the overarching results. This shows what's possible when policymakers get together with payers and they can join forces to make the care faster, simpler, and more affordable for the American people. So what comes next? Well, today's the beginning, and it really is just that. As this process rolls out, we're going to be seeing exactly how the engineering occurs. CMS is engaging with providers to find out how they can refine documentation procedures, because that's often where the entire process gets stuck. The records never get out of the doctor's office in a timely fashion. We have patient advocates identifying low-value codes. There's some things we should not be pre-authorizing anymore, and we should stop that, and the insurance industry agrees with that, by the way. The health IT innovators who are out there who want to help, there's an opportunity for them to extend real-time prior authorization. So literally, as the decision is being made that you as a patient need a test or a medication, the decision is at the same time made by the insurance company that it's okay. And this is going to allow us to next proceed into looking at ideas with pharmacy and behavioral health, so those opportunities and pre-authorization processes are accelerated. In closing, I'm going to applaud the insurance companies for taking a very thoughtful, brave first step. That stated, I know that we're going to have to keep watching what everyone's doing carefully. I want to be clear about that in reality. If the insurance industry cannot address the needs of pre-authorization by themselves, there are government opportunities to get involved. They might not be as nimble, but they will be used if we're forced to use them. We've, I think, convinced all the folks to come to the table, and I'm optimistic with that we're going to be successful. And there's a lot to be said about this, but I want to bring some folks in who have been very actively engaged in this process. I'm going to start with a gentleman who's known to many of you. because he's been on television in front of tens of millions of people playing an active role as a doctor, although he's not a doctor in real life. But he does have a health problem that has, and is chronic, so it's going to force him to deal with the pre-authorization system. And this is an exact kind of situation where you don't want pre-auth hindering and limiting your ability to get the care you need. Some of you know him as Dr. McSteamy from Grey's Anatomy, but Secretary Kennedy and I call him friend Eric Dane. Eric, come on up. And I'll have Eric share his diagnosis when he comes up. He's been very public about it, which is a brave thing to do. But I also appreciate you making time in your schedule to address America about pre-authorization. Bless you. I was told not to take his talking points, and I did.
Don't take my words. Thank you, Mr. Administrator Oz. I'm Eric Dane. Some of you may know me from TV shows such as Grey's Anatomy, which I play a doctor, but I am here today to speak briefly as a patient battling ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. When that diagnosis hits and you find out that you're sick, your life becomes filled with great uncertainty. And the worst thing that we can do is add even more uncertainty for patients and their loved ones with unnecessary prior authorization. Anything we can do to give patients more certainty with fewer delays is a worthwhile endeavor. I've been fortunate and have the means to access great care. I'm lucky. Not everyone is in the same position. I am acutely aware of that. I applaud the insurance industry coming together with officials from CMS and HHS to take these steps in the right direction. Today is about all those who need more certainty, faster answers, and more hope for recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. You can't capture the pain of the pre-authorization process without hearing from patients, so I appreciate Eric making the time. Physicians live through this continually, and I have two physicians who've volunteered to come over from Capitol Hill despite all the crazy busyness over there and spend some time with us. Senator Marshall is a good friend. We spent a lot of time brainstorming ways to improve healthcare in America, and pre-authorization, if you get two doctors together, always comes up. Senator Marshall.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I want to say a special thanks to Secretary Kennedy and CMS Administrator Dr. Oz, and especially President Trump for inviting me to participate in today's event to address the #1 bureaucratic nightmare facing doctors and patients, prior authorization. Now, long before I ran for Congress, I practiced OBGYN for some 25 years, and I vividly remember a patient I once had scheduled for an infertility surgery. She'd taken time off work and arranged help at home, only to be told the morning of her procedure that her insurance company had added another step to the prior authorization process, abruptly canceling her surgery. Now, whether you need a hip replacement or a heart catheterization, many patients feel their critical care has been delayed by an opaque and burdensome prior authorization process. It's something I hear about all the time back home. Moreover, physicians and nurses complain the process has become increasingly onerous because of constantly changing requirements, often demanding more time to navigate the red tape than to complete the pre-surgery medical workup. Today, by having all the players in the room, we hope to see a common-sense solution to streamline and improve our healthcare system. We must prioritize patients' health over corporate profits and arbitrary cost-cutting measures. For nearly my entire time in Congress, I fought to reform the prior authorization process in Medicare Advantage. Today's event moves us closer to that goal, ensuring patients receive timely, life-saving, and health-restoring care. Again, I just look forward to working with Secretary Kennedy, Administrator Oz, and insurers together to overhaul this process. I'm going to continue to champion this fight in Congress and support their efforts. And again, I'm just proud to stand alongside President Trump's A-team as we work to make healthcare more patient and provider-friendly for doctors, nurses, and patients alike. Next, I'm just proud to introduce one of my very good friends, a fellow physician, a urologist still practicing medicine, congressman from the great state of North Carolina, Dr. Greg Murphy. Greg?
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy, and thank you, Dr. Oz. How did we end up here? I think that's a real question. I can say now, after 32 years in clinical practice, which I still see patients, how did we get here? I think that's really critical. I think we all know that the maternal-fetal bond is probably the strongest human relation there is. I think the second one is the doctor-patient relationship. We saw a lot of that tinkered with during the pandemic. But I still see patients because I love it. I think my patients appreciate it, but it also helps me on a daily basis be cognizant and be present with my colleagues in Congress to talk about issues that are happening in medicine today. Just like Dr. Marshall, I have had innumerable episodes where patients call back crying or patients call back upset that their insurance company would not allow things, would not allow a treatment plan that I, as their trusted physician, have recommended. How did that happen? How did we get to that spot? Because, guys, that is basically putting somebody between the doctor and the patient. An opaque person in a cubicle which has a list of things that they are allowing and not allowing. How did we get here? We got here with two or three different ways. One is, I'm always happy to put the blame where it is. I do think we have some physicians that overorder tests. I do. I have younger partners, and I say to them, why are you doing that? Is it going to change patient care? Just because you want to know is not an answer. So there is some blame, and I'm happy to point this out on the physician community for over-ordering things. So I think we have to get, in part of our calculus, better taught in medical school and in residencies, why are you doing this? Why are we doing this? But that's not where I'm going to put the major blame. Sadly enough, we have people that take a good system. They're honored to be able to provide insurance coverage for all of America, for patients. But sadly enough, maybe in some boardrooms or in some other rooms, we've had people to say, how can we game the system? How can we get more money rather than deliver the money to the people who provide the care? You know, I think these are great. I would add one. I don't know how many times I've had to stop my clinic or stop in the operating room and talk to another person about denial of care. I need to be able to speak to a peer, not a radiologist, not somebody who is a pediatrician, not someone who does not know my field, but a peer-to-peer to be able to say this is what's going on with the patient, and then have the insurance company doctor on the other side should be knowledgeable about what I'm talking about and me not to have to explain them. So I urge my insurance companies really to offer that up and put one thing forward. This is a great day. It has been years in coming, and it is a day too long in coming. But I'm glad to hear that insurance companies have now understood what they've been doing is not right, and that they're coming to the table to try to fix fix some of those errors. But I will say this, being a surgeon, I'm a skeptic. The proof is going to be in the pudding. Are they really going to step up and do things, or are they doing something to placate an audience? We're going to hold them to the fire continually to make sure they're doing what they're saying they're going to do and provide and get out of the room, get out of the space between the doctor and the patient, and let the doctor deliver the good care that they know how to do. Thank you very much. Thank you, Secretary Kennedy.
I've known Secretary Kennedy for many years, and you meet a lot of people in life, and I don't think I know someone who's more righteous, who feels so wronged when he thinks things aren't being done correctly. So early on, he raised the issue of pre-authorization, and why was it that it was happening at all? And there are some reasons why pre-authorization exists, but he kept pushing and pushing, and with the team, got everyone focused, as someone who has a power to convene does so well. And I wanted Secretary Kennedy to spend a few moments describing his perspectives on pre-authorization, and then perhaps we can take some questions. Secretary Kennedy.
Thank you, Dr. Oz. During the transition last January, one of the people I was bringing on as a special government advisor was a long-term friend of mine called Jake Levine. And I asked Jake, can you give me an agenda, the most important things that we can do very quickly as soon as we get in there? And Jake called a professor at Harvard named David Cutler, a famous economist who spent an entire career studying the healthcare system and advising reforms. And he posed that question to Dr. Cutler. He said, what is the single most important thing that we could do to improve the patient experience in this country? We could do very, very quickly without regulations and without legislation. And Dr. Cutler immediately said to him, you can convene the insurance companies and get them to voluntarily agree to end the scourge of pre-authorization. And very early on in the administration, we brought in Chris Klump. And Chris Klump, I'm going to ask Jake and Chris Klump to come up and join me. Chris Klump was a very, very uber successful healthcare entrepreneur from Silicon Valley who specialized in healthcare technology. And in building his company, he had met virtually all of the big insurance CEOs and hospital CEOs in this country. And he spent the last several months calling them each up one by one and getting them to agree to this program. And it was an extraordinary effort. I'm so happy for his leadership, for Jake's leadership on this issue. The two of them have been working hand in hand to make this extraordinary day happen. And it's so important for our country because this has been one of the worst things. As Dr. Oz pointed out, 85% of Americans say that they have had delays in health care because of prior authorization. And the doctors hate it. Doctors report that it costs them 12 to 15 hours a week filling out forms. Some nurses are spending over half their time dealing with the administrative burden of this. And healthcare is often delayed to Americans. The cost of administration is enormous to our healthcare system, and we're going to be able to eliminate a lot of those costs by what we're doing today. I just want to read you an experience that a very close friend of mine, who's a physician, had with this, one of his many experiences, bad experiences with pre-authorization, and this is all too common in our country. A patient from New Jersey suffering from severe heart failure was transferred to New York Presbyterian Hospital for a life-saving transplant by my friend, the doctor. To survive until a donor heart became available, the patient urgently needed a mechanical heart pump, a device essential to sustain their life during the wait. The insurance company had approved the heart transplant, but then denied authorization for the mechanical heart pump, deeming it unnecessary. The decision created a perplexing contradiction. The patient was cleared for a transplant, but not for the critical device needed to keep him alive until the transplant could happen. With the patient in the operating room and his life at stake, the medical team was faced with a profound ethical challenge. Should they adhere to the insurance company's denial, which would likely lead to the patient's death, or take action to save the patient's life, knowing it could result in legal or professional.
You've been listening to a press conference with the, right now we are listening to the Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy. Shortly before that, we heard from Medicaid Services Administrator Mehmet Oz about improving health insurance access for Americans. We will continue to follow that story, of course. But right now, we want to bring you back to southeastern Wisconsin, and we want to talk about what's on everybody's minds right now, and that is the weather. It is a scorcher out there. All right, Tom, I just got to put you on the spot a little bit. Are you ready?
Ready, Mary. I'm ready for you.
Okay. Why aren't you on the weather deck?
Because of this.
It's a trick.
Because of this right here.
It's a trick question. I've been wondering exactly. Okay, we are at 92, and I always look for that feels like, because that's the real deal right there, that 99.
It's brutal. again today, Mary. But although this is kind of your weather, isn't it? You like the heat.
I love the heat, but I got to tell you, even this, I mean, this is getting a little bit crazy because I think we talked about this last night. If you get a day or two of this, it's like, oh, this is nice. But it has been so many days and our air conditionings are blasting and I just feel like we're just kind of soaked. We're in like this constant swamp state.
Absolutely. It's that dew point, right?
It's the dew point.
It's going to start to go down, which is good. This is the last day of the big time heat.
Okay.
And then it will start to get better. But now the issue, and let me step out of the way here for just a minute, the issue now is going to be what happens as we go throughout the nighttime hours tonight. So let's talk about that here. And I want to show you our current temperatures as we are in the 90s in most areas here. But as we take a look at the situation with the feels like temperature, we have a feels like temperature of about 101, but there is a cold front off to the west, and that is making its way towards us, and that is sparking thunderstorms in parts of the region. So let's take a look at that here, and I'll show you the heat warnings that are in effect, the warnings and advisories until 7 o'clock tonight. And that, again, is for the heat that's going on. But now let's talk about the severe weather. This is a severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect for our northwestern communities. So this is Fond du Lac and Dodge counties, and then points to the north and west until 9 o'clock tonight. And you can see some severe thunderstorm warnings up to the north as well for winds up to about 60 miles per hour. So let me show you the radar here. And you can see that we have the sunshine and the heat, but those storms are firing along this cold front. And they are moving right now more easterly. So what that means is, as of now, these storms are going to stay up to the north, really closer to the Green Bay area than the Milwaukee area for the next several hours. We have more development in southeastern Minnesota and northern Iowa. The question will be, as the front sinks to the southeast, do we get in on these storms in southeastern Wisconsin into Milwaukee, or do the storms weaken as we get towards sunset? And let me get into the science of this for you a little bit. There's a lot of energy in the atmosphere for these storms. But when we look at what's called wind shear, which we often talk about right on the news broadcast, and you'll often hear pilots talking about wind shear as well because it really can impact aviation and things, but it really impacts meteorology, and especially when we talk thunderstorms. Wind shear is both the change in wind direction with height and also the change in wind speed as you go up. So there's speed shear and there's directional shear. There is a little bit of speed shear going on, meaning if you were to get into a hot air balloon and go up, it would get windier. And that's why there's severe thunderstorm warnings for this cluster for wind, because it's bringing those stronger winds down from above. Now, the directional shear isn't there. It's what we call unidirectional, or all out of the same direction. So that means if you were to get into a hot air balloon and go up, the winds are all coming in generally out of the west-southwest this afternoon. And so that leads to, number one, the potential for those strong winds to come down, but number two, no real tornado threat. So that's why there's a severe thunderstorm watch. But here's the deal. As we go past sunset tonight, there's not a whole lot to keep these thunderstorms alive, at least severe, into Milwaukee, because we're going to cool down a little bit after sunset, so the atmosphere will stabilize, and we don't have a big trough of low pressure or a low-level jet stream to keep these storms alive. So here's the bottom line with all that big science lesson there. We are expecting some rain later tonight, but I think the severity will stay just up to the northwest. Again, severe thunderstorm watch, Dodge and Fond du Lac counties until 9 o'clock tonight. Sorry, that was kind of a long-winded answer, Mary, but gives you an idea of the weather synopsis across the state. Back over to you.
Absolutely. It was perfect. That's exactly what I needed. And thanks for playing along.
Of course.
Why is he not on that weather
deck?
Yeah,
I still will not be on the weather deck. Yeah.
I love it out there, but I get it. We're not mad at you. All right. Thank you, Tom. We'll get an update. We'll look for that at 4. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being with. Well, we have certainly covered a lot today. We are keeping our eye on the tensions in the Middle East, and we will continue to monitor that right now. And we were waiting for a press conference there from Qatar's foreign ministry. They hold a weekly briefing, but we will bring you updated later on. We do want to end kind of on a light note. Now that we have a weather forecast, Brewers play tonight, but they play tomorrow night right here on Fox 6, and it's your time to ask anything, everything, and all sorts of things. I'd like to speak to the manager. This is Ted Perry's briefing, if you will, with Brewers manager Pat Murphy. So if you scan that QR code, we have it on our Fox Local Mobile, you can go ahead